Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric here with Iraq Veteran 8888. All right, got some more 2A news for you. This comes out of Washington. The Washington Senate approves a high-cap magazine ban. This comes from firearmsnews.com. This article is written by Mark Chestnut, and we're going to break into it. Before we get started, though, I would like to thank our friends at Sonoran Desert Institute for supporting our videos. If you're looking for a career in gunsmithing technology, they're definitely your go-to group of people. Their instructors are awesome. The curriculum is amazing. They've got just great resources, and they're just a great group of people. So if you want to learn about reloading and gunsmithing and you're wanting to branch off into the firearms industry as a career, that's a great way to kickstart your future. Check them out, Sonoran Desert Institute, SDI, and tell them we sent you. All right, we're going to break right into the article. All right, from Mark Chestnut. A measure to ban the manufacture, distribution, and sale of firearms magazines capable of holding more than 10 rounds of ammunition has received approval from the Washington State Senate. Quote, the years 2020 and 2021 have seen a sharp increase in gun sales and gun violence, as well as fears over gun violence and incidents of armed intimidation, unquote. The legislation states, quote, in this volatile atmosphere, the legislature declares that it's time to enhance the public health and safety by limiting the sale of large capacity magazines. This legislature intends to limit the prospective sale of large capacity magazines while, all right, here's the important part, while allowing existing gun owners to retain large capacity magazines they currently own, end quote. Okay. So, so we're going to say, all right, you can't buy, sell, or manufacture any of these magazines in this state or ship them into this state. But you go on a road trip somewhere, all right, and walk into Bud's Pond somewhere in the dusty middle of nowhere that just happens to not be in the state you live in, and purchase said magazine and bring it back with you. See, the thing about these bans that is so crazy to me is that, well, they say, well, you can't have them anymore in the future, but, oh, okay, well, the ones you already own, you can keep. Well, for one, magazines are not serial numbered anyway, so there's no way that you'd be able to track, like, when something was made based on, I don't know, the markings on the mag or whatever. I mean, a PMag is a PMag, right? Doesn't matter. Okay, it could, now granted, there's been some generational changes in some of the PMags in terms of the designs and stuff, but overall, generically, how is Joe Blow on the side of the road going to know if that mag was bought 10 years ago or 10 minutes ago? Now, okay, granted, under this law, it's not like you're going to be buying it in Washington State, but hello, there's 49 other states. So again, all this really has the inkling of is like this feel-good legislation that I think a lot of people will pass this legislation that they feel has some overlying, far-reaching consequence for gun owners in their state. Or maybe they're appealing to some demographic that they think really wants this sort of stuff or that really thinks it's going to make them feel better or feel safer. And that's really not the case at all. That's not true, right? So now, granted, there might be an entire subset of people in this state that completely applauds this measure, but there's a danger in saying, okay, hello, State Senate, we're just going to let you arbitrarily make this decision, pass this, make it a law, and now all of a sudden, all of these, Karens and people that are upset about, magazines of various capacity, no matter what they may be, right, they can go, whew, oh, we really dodged the bullet this time because now those criminals will use 10-round mags instead of any other type of magazine. Criminals don't follow laws. And you're saying that gun owners can retain the magazines they already own. So if you're worried about the people in the very state doing something with those magazines that you don't like, this legislation literally accomplishes nothing more than just this Chicken Little sky is falling complex that seems to be running rampant throughout all of these leftist-leaning states. I mean, I'm not saying pass a more strict version of the law. I'm saying the law shouldn't have gathered legs to begin with at all. I mean, that's just what's so crazy about it. And they have this feel-good assumption that if you pass some law, it's just going to magically make the things you dislike disappear overnight. And we know how that ends up working out. The measure would address not only rifle magazines that hold more than 10 rounds, banning most standard magazines used in AR-15s, America's most popular rifle, but also semi-auto pistol magazines that can hold more than 10 rounds. This would outlaw a majority of the magazines that come stock with semi-auto pistols from most manufacturers. That's a great point, Mark. He's absolutely correct. Yeah, I mean, think about how many pistols that you can buy that hold 10 or less rounds. Not many. So unless you go with a 1911 or some type of a single stack, that's going to put a large majority of defensive firearms completely out of the grasp and reach of people who want to use them to protect themselves. You're actually disarming the very people who need those items to protect themselves on an everyday basis. The criminals are going to do what they want. All you're doing is making the barrier of entry for the average person much harder for them to exercise their rights to protect themselves. The legislation further states, large capacity magazine means an ammunition feeding device with the capacity to accept more than 10 rounds of ammunition or any conversion kit, part, or combination of parts from with such a device can be assembled if those parts are in possession of or under the control of the same person, but not be construed to include any of the following. An ammunition feeding device that has been permanently altered so it cannot accommodate more than 10 rounds of ammunition, a .22 caliber tube ammunition feeding device, or a tubular magazine that is contained in a lever action firearm. So that would be, like if a lever gun holds 12 shots, okay, you can't make the gun like not hold 12 shots. So in this particular situation, they're saying, if a tubular magazine holds more than 10, you're okay, is the way I would read into that. All right, while the introduction to the legislation states it would allow existing legal owners to keep their magazines holding more than 10 rounds, a thorough study of the measure as it passed the Senate revealed the grandfather clause language has been removed. Wow, that's convenient, isn't it? Interestingly, many across Washington and even in other states who get their news from the Associated Press via their local news outlets got nothing but confusion thanks to an ignorant headline writer and editor. The headline concerning the state Senate action on the measure said, Washington Senate okays ban on sale of high-capacity gun ammunition. That's what it says. While we're not sure what high-capacity gun ammunition is, we sure'd like to have some to test out the next time we head out to the range. A little joke there, Mark. Okay, sounds good. With the Washington legislative session set to adjourn on March 10th, anti-gun Democrats have a tall hill to climb to try to get the measure approved in the state House of Representatives. So that's not necessarily out of the woods yet. So just know that this can still be fought, right? You have to really look at these things under that lens of caution, right? When someone says, "Oh, well, we're gonna pass this law, but we're gonna grandfather it," right? You get to keep your magazines, right? So what's the big deal, right? It's not a problem, right? But then you see that they even removed that language from the bill that got passed through the Senate. So it's not over. There are ways to fight this still. It's not out of the woods yet. But these are the type of states battles that are happening on a regular basis that you have to keep your eyes on, people, right? We can't write Washington State off as a lost cause, right? There are plenty of freedom-loving people there who want nothing more than to protect themselves. And we should support any environment where we can, empower the people to defend themselves against folks that would hurt them, right? And look, you got to have magazines to do that. You got to be able to feed your firearms ammunition to do the job you need to do if you are, found to be in a situation where you have to defend yourself. So, keep your ear to the ground on this. It's very important that we continue to fight this sort of stuff. Those states battles, guys, do not let those go the way of the dodo. You have to pay attention to stuff that's going on at the state level because it can have nationwide impact if you're not careful, right? Look at the pro-gun side of things, right? Look at all of the states that are passing constitutional carry. Look at how that's lighting a spark under many other types of states that are coming in and going, wow, we should pass constitutional carry, right? Like right now, Georgia, Florida, many other states. So the pro-gun stuff can gain legs, but so can the anti-gun stuff. So you can't ignore the anti-gun stuff. You've got to fight it tooth and nail. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's little news update. Really appreciate you watching. If you want to support what we do, go over to Ballistic Ink and pick yourself up a snazzy new t-shirt. That's one way you can support us. Also, make sure you check out our Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit podcast. The owner of Ballistic Ink, Matt, He and I have a podcast that we do. It's an hour-long session each week. We post it here on Iraq Veteran 8888 on the YouTube channel, as well as over on all the different podcast outlets. So make sure you go check out our Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit podcast. And if you consume the podcast on all of the various podcast servers, please leave us a great review. It helps us show up in the search engine a little bit better, helps us, get higher in the search category. So if you can leave us a great review, we'd really appreciate you checking out our podcast. We put in a lot of work on that, and we really appreciate your support on that. Have a great day. Many more videos on the way. We'll see you next time.